Well, good evening, folks. Thank you very much. It's a little past 7:03-ish, and we will call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It is November 6th, 2017. All members of the board are present this evening. If I could invite everyone in attendance to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will jump right into the transmittal of, the transmittal of Treasury warrants, Treasury warrant number 17, 17A, 18, and 18A. Is there a motion to approve those Treasury warrants?
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on those? I hear none. All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. We do have one set of minutes from the October 10th, 2017 meeting. And bear with me as I scan through them. But if anyone in attendance here wishes to discuss those or offer a motion to approve, I would accept that.
So moved. Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there discussion on those minutes?
Yeah, really, Chairman, I just have one question to bring up on it. The particular votes are not recorded in here in regards to if motions were made and it was a 3-2 vote or a unanimous vote. I don't know if we should include those in here. It says that the motion passed or didn't pass, but it didn't give the vote count.
Is your request, Mr. Kyra, that we revisit or that we look back on the record of the evening and update these minutes to reflect that piece of information?
Yes, I believe we should. And that is the way the other minutes have been recorded, so I think we should be consistent.
I have no objection to that. Is there any objection among the board to pursue in that manner? I don't see an objection. So we have a motion and a second to approve.
I'll withdraw the motion to yield to Mr. Kyra's suggestion.
All right, well, very well. That motion has been repealed by Mr. Bendel. So do we need a motion to ask the...
No, we will just review the minutes and assign the vote counts to each of the votes and then present them again at your meeting on the 13th.
All right, very well. Very well. Thank you, Mr. Kyra, for bringing that to our attention. So, jumping past that, we'll move right to our one and only scheduled appointment, the 7 o'clock appointment, a discussion with regards to the petition for the scheduled, or to schedule a special town meeting to revise the town of Wilmington zoning bylaws with respect to substance abuse detox facilities. And then, I guess thereafter, to consider possible warrant articles to add to that town meeting, assuming we do in fact schedule one. And those articles would be toward the amendment of the Wilmington zoning bylaws and inhabitant bylaws relative to recreational marijuana. So a couple of meaty subjects indeed, but the real agenda topic in the way I view it is that we are discussing the scheduling of the special town meeting specifically. So I don't know, Mr. Hall, if you wanted to sort of summarize or review sort of the events and the schedules, and we'll engage in conversation.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make a disclosure publicly right now.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Please go right ahead.
Right, what I need to do is I need to make a full, complete disclosure. I spoke with a Lauren Duca, L-A-U-R-E-N, last name D-U-C-A, of the State Ethics Commission. She asked me questions which I answered in total honesty. She told me to go get a 268A, Section 23B3. She said, I have no conflict of interest as I have no financial interest in the project, and I'm not even an abutter. I filed the 268A 23B3 conflict of interest document with the clerk at 12:02 p.m. on Friday, November 3rd. And I just want to make a couple of quick comments because some of the members didn't think I would be able to participate. And I got to say, Mr. Chairman, you've done a great job. Anytime I needed to communicate with you, you did, relative to the town council. And I just want to make a couple of quick comments and before you get into the agenda. I thought this would be a simple meeting where we'd come in, make a vote, come out because 1,311 people are demanding a special town meeting and seeking a zoning change. This is obviously not going to be the case. When I opened my Selectmen packet pertaining to tonight's meeting, I was dismayed at what I read. I know there will be a vote and more than likely a special town meeting, but there will be nothing simple about it, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make comment on some of the items on the agenda this evening after the town manager publicly reads into the record the public opinion from Town Council John Foskett relative to the petition zoning article. And once again, you've been fair. You've gotten, every time I called you, Mr. Chairman, you reached out and gave me an answer, and I want to say that, and I mean that with all sincerity.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Yeah, and I'm sorry that I didn't mean to overlook the fact that you had that statement to make this evening. I think, and correct me, I just, so that for everyone's recognition, because you were effectively the spearhead of the petition article, or the petition for the special town meeting, it was the real impetus behind you needing to communicate with the ethics board and fill out those forms that you referred to.
Thank you for the disclosure. I'm a member of the Board of Selectmen. I wrote the article, but I'm working with residents. This is a citizen-driven petition. I made that clear, and it was a non-issue.
Very well. Thank you, sir. So moving on, Jeff, I suppose I think the appropriate thing here is to have you summarize where we are.
With respect to the petition that was turned in, it was turned in on October 30th, and to the town clerk's office. The town clerk certified 280 signatures of the 660 that were turned in, so that there's a minimum of 200 signatures that need to be certified, so it's established that the petition meets that threshold. As a consequence, upon receipt of the petition for a special town meeting, which the board effectively received this evening, the board has 45 days within which to call a special town meeting, which would bring us through December 21st. So, as you know, this evening, one of the things, there's 3 different votes that the board will need to take or consider taking. One is to open the town warrant if the board so chooses. Then a second vote would be to determine a date by which to close the warrant. Then third, to take a vote to schedule a date, time, and location for the special town meeting. From that point, the first key date is going to be the date for the warrant to be closed, which I'm recommending be set as November 8th. Assuming that's the case, then the Board of Selectmen would be presented with a warrant to sign at your meeting on the 13th of November. In accordance with the bylaws, the board would then have to provide a copy to the Finance Committee. Following that, there are a series of dates that need to be adhered to based upon either town bylaw or state statute. One being that the planning board needs to post notice of a public hearing, a joint hearing between the planning board and the Finance Committee. The first date of that posting must be at least 14 days in advance of that public hearing. So their first posting would be November 15th. Their second posting would be on November 22nd. And then at that date also, the Finance Committee would have to post notice of a public hearing. Their requirement is they post notice at least 7 days in advance of the public hearing. What I'm proposing is that the public hearing be scheduled for November 30th, which is a Thursday. Then the board, the Planning Board and the Finance Committee would both have to provide their recommendations to the town clerk. That needs to be done at least 7 days in advance of a special town meeting. So I'm suggesting the deadline for that be Friday, December 1st. Also, one of the requirements is that the town clerk establish times for individuals who are residents but not currently registered to vote for those individuals to come into her office and register. One of those times she has to keep the office open through 8 p.m. The date that is proposed for that to take place is on December 1st, so she would stay open until 8 p.m. on that evening. Of course, anyone can register to vote during the normal business hours, which are 8:30 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. Then the final date would be the town meeting itself, which I'm suggesting be held on December 12th. A couple of things that I was looking to try to stay away from is scheduling the public hearing during the week leading up to Thanksgiving, and also trying to avoid scheduling, suggesting that the town meeting be scheduled in the week leading up to Christmas. So that is the proposed schedule and series of events that need to take place.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it was that schedule, which I think anyone who listened to those dates, they start tonight and they end on December 12th, is very compressed. So a lot of statutory activities have to take place inside of that compressed period of time, which is really the impetus or really the reason why we're here tonight, as opposed to, we could have taken up the issue of voting as to whether or not we're going to schedule the special town meeting at our next Board of Selectmen meeting, but that would have protracted everything out possibly into the new year. Is that?
It would have certainly made it difficult to meet the 45-day requirement.
So that's really why it's a unique set of circumstances that we scheduled this special meeting of the Board of Selectmen, and why we only have this one appointment scheduled for this evening. We're going to forego going through a lot of the communications that we normally go through at our regular Board of Selectmen meetings. Those communications, while some of them were in your packets, gentlemen, we will review them at our next meeting. I guess that's next Monday. So that, I guess, is really it. I mean, the question now remains, or the discussion needs to be had here about the scheduling of the special town meeting itself. And so I just want to kind of give the opportunity for members here to ask questions or engage in conversation before we, I guess, or unless there's a motion that someone wants to jump right into making.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to get a little clarification. Are you looking for a vote right now to call the special town meeting? Because I do want to have some commentary after that. I just want to make sure, because I know the manager's going to be reading an opinion.
I'm not necessarily looking for anything, Mr. McCoy. I guess I want to keep it organic and give everyone the opportunity to speak that has it or wants it. At some point, a vote, if there's a motion made, the vote will be taken, but it's up to the members of this body to decide when that takes place. Jeff, did you expect to or anticipate reading the language from town council into the record?
It's really the chair's call. I can certainly read it into the record. I think it's certainly
I think it's meat for the conversation, and clearly, I think we at our level, and we've seen his opinion, but I think it's probably worth putting it out into the public. So I don't know, unless anyone has a strong objection to that. I think it's certainly worth having it be read to the record.
Not at all.
So this is an opinion that was provided by John Foskett, who is town council. You have asked for an opinion from town council which can be made public regarding the petition article which would amend the zoning bylaws to regulate, quote, detox facilities, end quote. After review of the article and of the Attorney General's June 12, 2017 letter refusing to approve a zoning bylaw enacted by the town of Millbury, it is our opinion that the petitioned article, if adopted by 2/3 vote of the town meeting, is virtually certain to be disapproved. The Millbury article imposed a 1,000-foot buffer zone for methadone clinics, separating them from schools and playgrounds by at least 1,000 feet. The Massachusetts Zoning Act, General Law, Chapter 40, Section 3, provides that a municipality may not enact a zoning bylaw which discriminates against a disabled person. The Attorney General noted that the persons suffering from drug addiction are, quote, disabled persons, end quote, within the meaning of the law. The Attorney General also noted that, quote, similar uses, end quote, in Millbury, including, quote, nursing, convalescence, or rest homes and hospitals, end quote, were not subject to a buffer zone. The Attorney General ruled that, quote, by singling out substance abuse treatment providers for additional land use restrictions not imposed on similar uses in the town, the bylaw facially discriminates against disabled persons in violation of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, end quote. Although the Millbury article involved a buffer zone, while the petitioned article specifies the districts in which a, quote, detox facility, end quote, can be located as a special permit use, this makes no difference in our opinion. The article would allow, quote, detox facilities only in general industry and high industry districts. The detox, quote, detox facility, end quote, uses the completely dissimilar, quote, detox facility use is completely dissimilar to the other allowed and special permit uses in those districts. Meanwhile, quote, similar uses, end quote, of hospitals, clinics, and nursing homes are allowed in R10, R20, R60, 055 or over 55, the neighborhood business, general business, and central business districts under a special permit. It is virtually certain that the Attorney General would rule that, quote, by singling out substance abuse treatment providers for additional land use restrictions not imposed on similar uses in the town, the bylaw facially discriminates against disabled persons in violation of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, end quote, and would therefore disapprove the bylaw. Likewise, we see no realistic prospect that the article could be amended to satisfy the Attorney General's test in any way which treats these facilities differently from their, quote, similar uses, end quote. The Attorney General's ruling was based on Massachusetts law, although the disapproval was therefore not based upon the federal ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Fair Housing Act statutes. The Attorney General did point out that the Millbury bylaw may well violate those provisions as well. The same applies to the petitioned article. Without going into detail, it is sufficient to point out that several federal courts have held that zoning measures which single out methadone clinics for treatment different from that given to similar uses violates federal law. Even if such a bylaw is adopted, its enforcement would likely be barred by a federal court if challenged.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can make a comment, please.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to read a response relative to the town council's opinion, but I want to share this first, and it's very important to hear it because you can use it relative to the opinion. Now, I got to say, Mr. Chairman, you were wonderful. You called the town council when I requested, and I asked you, can you call council to see what my role is relative to my vote? I've been involved in government a long time. I know it just got to go to state ethics. I don't need to ask town council, but I want to read something from an email that I can discuss because it doesn't prohibit us by law. And if you want to take a look at it, Mr. Shampoo, because I know you got a smartphone, but I wrote it down. And the town council stated this: it's my understanding that you have authorized me to advise regarding whether, under the conflict of interest law, Mike McCoy can participate in next Monday's agenda item regarding the petition for a special town meeting to consider the zoning article he is proposing. Here's the point. Any opinion which I give is non-binding, as opposed to an opinion from the Ethics Commission. Remember that word, non-binding opinion. Now I'm going to read the response that I have relative to town council's saying he basically assassinates everything about this. He states that if adopted by 2/3 vote at the town meeting, it's virtually certain to be disapproved. Let me read my response. The Attorney General's role only happens after we pass this article, not before we pass this article. Town council is just making a prediction what he thinks the Attorney General will do. But if we pass this article, Town Council's job will be to convince the Attorney General to approve this bylaw. Let the Attorney General do their job, but let us, the voters, do our job by saying what we want for our town. Let's pass this article and then let the lawyers go to work. Now, Town Council cites a decision of the Attorney General regarding the town of Millbury to make his opinion predicting what the Attorney General might do with our article. Our article is very different from Millbury's article, and we feel the Millbury decision doesn't apply to our article. In Millbury, there was a town meeting article to impose a unique zoning requirement for a methadone clinic to have a 1,000-foot buffer from a list of existing use such as schools, parks, and playgrounds, a requirement only applicable to a methadone clinic and not to any other facilities. The Attorney General says similar use in the town are not subject to such a buffer zoning requirement. The Attorney General determined that the methadone clinic in Millbury was singled out for an unusual, unique requirement. In Wilmington, the citizens' article, if passed, would have the same requirement on the detox facility. In other facilities, every kind of treatment facility, detox or other, is required now in Wilmington and will continue to be required after this article passes to apply for a secure and special permit. And everybody with every kind of treatment facility is limited to certain existing zoning districts here in our town. No treatment facility is permitted townwide here in Wilmington and is not permitted in other existing zoning districts. After our citizens' article passes, the detox facility will have to get the same identical special permit as every operating a treatment facility must find a location in an existing zoning district which permits this use using the identical same process that every facility in Wilmington would have to go through. In Wilmington, we are not creating any new zoning districts or special buffer requirements at all. We are not trying to ban detox facilities. We are only making sure that detox facilities fit into our town at already existing zoning districts suitable for such a facility. Let's pass this citizens article, and then we can make the decision to the Attorney General that the citizens article is different from the Millbury article. I'd just like to add a little bit more commentary. You know, I don't proclaim to have Esquire at the end of my name, but I've been involved in local government for 31 years, 28 years as an elected member of the Board of Selectmen, and I understand how municipal government works. The position of the town council is this: he has to protect our town and our community. Now, when you go vote at a town meeting, he may not like what you vote for, but he has to honor and fight on our behalf to prove that the town meeting was right. This is what the town people want. It is not him to come out and basically assassinate this thing immediately. How does he know what the Attorney General is going to do? She can't render an opinion until due process. You go to the town meeting, and if they vote it down, they vote it down. But if they pass it, that has to be brought to the AG's office, and then that's when they make a determination. But it's his job. And I'll be honest with you, after looking at this, by him being as biased as he is, we're going to have to probably hire special counsel to represent the integrity in the vote of the town meeting. He's absolutely biased in this. And just like this, remember a moment ago what he said? Any opinion which I give is non-binding, as opposed to an opinion from the Ethics Commission. I just want to finish. Different state agency, still Commonwealth of Mass, Attorney General's office, it's up to her to make that decision. Now, I want to say something. When we went in Monday to bring the article to the town clerk's office, I came in with myself and Mr. Buckley and I believe Mr. Bruno. And the first thing the clerk said, right off the bat, the ink's not even dry, and she says, even if this passes at the town meeting, the AG's probably going to kick it out. How can people come to those assumptions? It hasn't even gone to the town meeting, and the AG hasn't seen it. That is backwards. That is totally backwards. And you know, I'd like to make more commentary if I can, obviously, relative to this, but right now, I just would like to, I made that clear, and I just want to take a look at a couple other things. And I'm just curious, if I can ask the town manager, who determined that it would be up till the 45 days when that ticks? who makes that determination relative on behalf of the town when the 45 days, when it starts ticking in the final vote? I mean, the final date, because I think you said December 21st.
Yes.
I mean, that's my question, if I can ask that.
Well, the 45 days is established in statute. It's, I believe it's chapter 3910, right?
Right. Can I ask you, who made that determination on behalf of the town that the 45 days start ticking tonight? I'm just, even though it's
The-
December 12th, which is, you know, I understand. I'm just wondering who made that opinion.
The conversation I had with counsel, the question he asked is, what is the customary practice when petition articles come forward, whether they be special town meeting articles or annual town meeting? Clearly, this is the first special town meeting warrant article we've had, as far as I know, driven by registered voters. When we have petition articles that come forward via the annual town meeting, once they're received by the town clerk's office, they're presented to the board at the next Board of Selectmen's meeting. So based upon that practice, it was his determination that the clock starts ticking tonight when the board formally meets to receive this petition warrant article.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I called the Division of Elections with the Secretary of State's office. I spoke to a Calvin Brown and asked him, relative to a special town meeting, when does the 45 days start ticking? According to Chapter 39 and Section 10. He told me, hold on, and I'll connect you to the proper department. I spoke to a William Rosenberry, Rosenberry, and explained to him that I am a selectman from the town of Wilmington who helped residents with a petition to call for a special town meeting. And could he please tell me, simple question, when does the 45 days start ticking? He confirmed that I was from Wilmington and that he spoke to a Sharon George last week, pretty much the first petition. Last week. He asked for the dates, and I told him on October 30th, 2017, the petition was received to the town clerk's office. On October 31st, 2017, the petition was certified by the clerk's office, and the 280 signatures. And I then took the confirmation letter signed by Sharon George to the town manager's office, and it was time-stamped November 1st, 2017. He asked if the selectmen have their own stamp, and I said no. The town manager receives all correspondence on our behalf, and the town manager's stamp is all of our correspondence of documents. And if I can go through a packet now, you're gonna see the town manager's stamp. We don't have our own private secretary and our own stamp. Mr. Rosenberry then stated that the 45 days start from November 1st, and the town meeting should take place no later than December 16th, 2017. You know, to the according timeline is stated to the special town meeting that could help until December 21st. So the bottom line is, those 45 days, and I'm happy that we're gonna take the vote and it's the 12th. Talk to Mr. Rosenberry. This is what he said to me, and I'm gonna tell you, the very first petition, Sharon George was correct. I go, how does the 45 days work? She told me exactly like this. So I physically brought that down myself, and I know the manager wasn't there, and Wendy time-stamped it. I called the Election Commission myself and the Secretary of State's office. I just want to make that clear. So if this is an opinion of the town council, he's wrong. I encourage everybody to call William Rosenberry, Rosenberry. Very simple. Simple question. When does the 45 days start ticking? I don't know how more clear you can be. I just wanted to at least let people know that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, with regard to the point that it's the town council's role to convince the AG to accept whatever is adopted by town meeting, that simply is not the case, and it never has been the case. When town meeting, whether it's a special town meeting or an annual town meeting, votes to enact a zoning bylaw change, that change in bylaw is sent to the Attorney General's office by the town clerk, and it's left to the Attorney General's staff to make a judgment as to whether it is legally compliant with their guidelines. There is no lobbying on the part of either the town or town council to make it so. Town council's role is simply to provide legal advice. So the fact that town council is suggesting, based upon past cases, in particular this Millbury case, that it is highly likely that this this bylaw, if passed, will be deemed discriminatory, is not an opinion it's not an opinion based upon his personal preference. He's simply saying that based upon the law and the background as he has reviewed it, in looking at this Millbury case, it is highly unlikely that this will be sustained by the Attorney General's office. One of the roles of town council is, when we are dealing with issues like this or other cases, is to advise the Board of Selectmen as to the legal risk of going forward. So he's simply saying, based upon the law and as it is today, there is a significant legal risk that if this is approved, it will not be upheld by the Attorney General. With respect to the reference to non-binding, John Foskett has made it clear on multiple occasions when there are potential issues of ethics violations or the need to talk to the Ethics Commission. He has indicated that he is not the one that enforces the ethics laws, and he strongly encourages any one of us who may have a potential issue or question of a violation to check with the Ethics Commission. So I think that's totally separate and distinct from the issue of whether this proposed petition article has a likelihood of being approved by the Attorney General's office.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I could just mention, I differ. It's completely different. They were talking about a methadone clinic and a 1,000-foot buffer. Remember, everyone said, oh, it's not going to be a methadone clinic, it's going to be a detox center. Remember that? Number one. Number two, we have existing zoning that allow that. They still got to go through the process of a special permit. A lot more, that's less restrictive in Millbury. Now, I just want to say something. I've been on the board a long time, and we hired this town council service, and they do a good job. But there's multiple people who have different expertise. For example, John Huscom, his expertise is labor law. Rick Hudson has his expertise as zoning officer. I wonder why, how come we don't have an opinion from Hudson? We're getting an opinion from John Foskett. That'd be like me working at the restaurant. I might be a crackerjack on the grill, but the pizza guy is better than me and the grill guy is better than me, and my wife sure as heck's better on the cash register. I can do them all, but I'm a crackerjack on the grill. But I'll leave it to the other people who can do the job better. And this whole law firm, when we go in executive session, we sit down and we talk about contracts. So we have a contract lawyer. We talk about zoning. Hudson is the zoning officer. John Foskett is assigned to the town, right? So they rely on other opinions. All I'm saying to you is Hudson is making all these determinations. Foskett, but Hudson is the zoning guy. He's the guy about the bylaws, about, planning, neighborhoods. We haven't heard from him. All I'm saying to you is that, he shoots it down, and I'll differ. That role of that town council, you can go to town meeting and say, I want to throw 100 pumpkins off the high school. Well, as crazy it sounds, if town meeting passes that, it's his job to defend that on behalf of the town. Let the AG make that decision. Everyone is killing it before it even has a chance to go even to the town meeting. The ink's not even dry, and to the AG's office.
Mr. Chairman, I just make one more point, and that is that Council is noting that the underlying premise or the underlying theme, even though the Millbury case is a detox center, the underlying principle in both of these cases is that in the case of Millbury, they were treating this type of facility that was designed to address people with substance abuse issues. And substance abuse, individuals treating for substance abuse are a protected class, that Millbury was treating them separately and distinctly from other individuals or other people that might be seeking treatment. So the same premise could be said for this article, that people who are going for cancer treatment, people who are being treated for autism, people who are being treated for any number of medical maladies. Currently, under our zoning, those treatment facilities can be located in R10, R20, R60, general business, but the proposal here is to carve out this one category of individuals that are seeking medical treatment and to say you can't set up operation in these areas of town. You can only do it in a certain section of town, and that is the problem that potentially arises here with this article, that we're, unlike all these other treatment facilities that could come to Wilmington, we're taking this one particular category of people that happen to be suffering from substance abuse and potentially saying that you're restricted to only a couple of zones.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just make another comment. Originally, there was a question asked of the town manager. What do you think it's going to cost for a special town meeting? And the price was $7,500 to $8,000. I said, even if it's $8,500, it's money well spent. Well, the cost for this special town meeting, given by the chief fiscal officer, the town manager, it's going to cost no more than $1,778 for this town meeting coming up. And if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong, but I'm reading what's in here, okay? So I see a lot of holes in a lot of things, and I'm not Nostradamus, but I'm just making this point. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Mike, why don't you tell the people out there that that's based on a 4-hour meeting?
Yeah,
Instead
I
of
don't think
just
it's-
throwing a number out there, making,
No, you're right.
making everyone else look bad.
It's based on a 4-hour meeting. This thing will probably
say
take
that at
less
the
than.
beginning, Mike.
Well, it's, all right, I apologize, and I'm sorry.
should.
It's based on a 4-hour meeting, so the total cost for a 4-hour, tell me if I'm wrong, it doesn't say by the hour. So you're telling me it's gonna cost $1,778 for a maximum time of 4 hours, Mr. Manager?
Yes, the original estimate was based upon an annual town meeting, which obviously is considerably longer.
And you see what happens, folks? One word, annual and special. That's why we're here a second time. You know, there's 311 people between two petitions are demanding this. That's strong. That's amazing. You know, so I appreciate you correcting me, and I believe the fair is this article is going to pass at the town meeting. We're going to be in and out of there probably in an hour. You know, so, but I plan on, can I just say something, please, all right? Because this is.
You've been saying quite a bit. I'd like you to kind of conclude your comments. I know that everyone here is
All right.
jumping at the bit to have some
All right,
comments.
what I like
as
to
well.
do is, you know, when the time comes to make a motion, obviously the town manager set the dates, and after the motion, and if it does pass, I would like to pass out to the membership another article that I want them to consider, and there's a reason for that. So I'd make a motion right now that we outline, and I'm going to pass this out right now as I'm doing it. I'd like to make a motion right now that, as outlined by the town manager, that we call for a special town meeting as outlined. I believe it's on December 12th. I believe that's on December 12th. In the outline, I believe you open up the warrant, and you're going to close it, I think, Wednesday night, which is, I think, going to be the 8th. And then I would like an opportunity to present something to the board for them to consider, a second article for the town meeting. And I'll go through that right now, and it's going to take one quick minute. You know, after the vote, Mr. Chairman, if you want, I would like to talk about another article that the board could consider. And I looked outside the box, and this is going to make a lot of folks very happy, and it's the consideration, because you know, I mean, real quick, there's 3 options here when it comes to this, and the selectmen
Hold
can
on,
either
Mr. McCoy,
accept
you're
it.
all over the board. I gotta
know.
rein things in.
But I'd like to talk
Are you
about-
making a motion, or are you
I'd
gonna
like to
talk
make a
about your
motion
article?
according to the timeline of the town manager for the special town meeting, those exact dates that he stated.
Okay, so we have a motion to schedule, to open the warrant. Actually, I guess we have to be careful here. We have 3 separate motions. So, Mr. McCoy, there's 3 motions that would ultimately need to be taken or made and voted on in order for this special town meeting to get scheduled. The first motion and vote would have to be that we open the town meeting warrant. And then the second motion and vote would have to be that we consider a date to close the special town meeting warrant. And the third vote that we would have to make a motion and vote on is the scheduling of the date, time, and location of the special town meeting. So those are the 3, I guess, votes that have to be taken in as formalities So may I ask you, Mr. McCoy, are you willing to adjust your motion to open the special town meeting warrant?
I make a motion that we open the special town meeting warrant, which is this evening on November 6, 2017. I'd like
Okay.
to make that in form of a motion.
Very well, I'll accept that as a made motion.
Second.
And I accept that as a second. We are in discussion mode on that piece of the, on that specific line item. So I know there was discussion that was about to be had. Please.
Just, I believe we already have a motion made earlier and seconded by Selectman Bendel, which should probably be pulled off the table if we're making another motion. You can't have two motions going at the same time, I don't believe. Robert's Rules covers that. We're here not to debate the issue. We got the required votes, the required signatures were certified. We're here tonight just to set up the special town meeting, not to get into a debate of whether the article is good or not good. As for the opinion of the town council, we always ask for the opinion of the town council, and I don't believe that that's going to sway the Attorney General at all. They're going to get the article if it passes, and they're going to make their determination. But we're not here to have a debate tonight. You got the required signatures. Let's set up the special town meeting, and let's go home. And that's what we're here for tonight, I believe.
So, Mr. Chair, my second stands to grant the request of the residents, so if you want to accept it, fine by me.
I'm sorry, say it again, Greg, I want to understand what you said.
I did second Mr. McCoy's motion to begin with. If you want to accept mine or Mr. Loud's second, let's grant the request of the residents.
I guess I wanted to be careful about, Mr. McCoy's first motion was to schedule the special town meeting based on the schedule that Jeff had highlighted. So from a formality standpoint, we need to establish that, it says right there, the board to consider items on our agenda. So we do need to have those three votes taken specifically, not necessarily, I guess, in that order, but in that language. So the first motion that Mr. McCoy made and the one that you seconded really wasn't any of those three. It was really just to say, hey, we want to have a special town meeting, which I would accept that. We can certainly vote on that, but then we still have to take these other three votes. Do you think that I'm correct in that assessment?
I just make a motion, we start in sequence like it says here in the agenda. I make a motion that we open a special town meeting.
Yeah, which I think we've already
To
made.
rescind the first two if you're going to make a third.
So let's,
I just want to make it, I just want to make it legal.
Me too.
So that, you know, when this is looked at, that it's done the correct way for the residents of Wilmington.
I couldn't agree more.
If we need to withdraw the second and withdraw the two motions, let's do it, and let's start over, and let's do it the right way.
Right. I couldn't agree more, Mr. Kyra. So, Jeff, my thinking was that the original motion that was made by Mr. McCoy and seconded by Greg, I'd like to see Mr. McCoy retract that motion, and then we can get into the three motions that you highlighted for us, that we can schedule the town meeting in order. Does that
All right, I retract that motion. I just wanted to make a motion according to the town manager's timeline. But I retract that motion, and there's three separate motions we have to make. I understand that.
Second retracted.
Okay, so now we're back to the second motion, if you will, which was, Mr. McCoy, you had stated your motion to open the special town meeting warrant effective tonight. Was that your motion?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
And I think Mr. Loud had seconded that. We were in discussion on that motion. Is there more discussion on that piece of business? I hear none. All in favor of that? That is, I think, unanimous? Yes. So that is unanimous to open the town meeting warrant. Thank you. The second order of business would be to consider a date to close the special town meeting warrant. Mr. Hull had suggested, based on the timeline, that would be the 8th, if I'm not mistaken? Yes, November 8th, to close the town meting warrant. Can you explain?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we're in discussion. I'll ask, as part of that discussion, if you can explain what that effectively means.
Yes, so as of the close of business on the 8th, if that is the date determined, there will be no opportunity for any further articles to be added to this warrant.
Very well. We are in discussion. That motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? I see unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. And the last piece of business is a board to consider scheduling the date time and location for the special town meeting. Did you mention a location, Jeff, that you had preferred? Are we at the high school, do we think, or?
We would have to schedule this for the middle school. There are concerts going on at the high school during that time, so it would need to be at the middle school.
So, there is a recommendation by the town manager based on the schedule, the 45-day clock of December 12th at the middle school. Let's see, and what time? What time are we thinking? Was it at an evening? 7 p.m. So 7 p.m., 1212 middle school is the recommendation. I would accept a motion to that or anything else.
So move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. We're in discussion on that piece of action. Any discussion or questions? I see none. All in favor? It's unanimous. We have a special town meeting scheduled. Very well. So what will happen, Jeff, is in terms of publicity of the events, how will we go about getting all of this information to the community with regards to, I guess, by virtue of this meeting right now, the town meeting warrant is open, and it will close at the end of business on the 8th, and then we will have a planning board and finance public hearing on the 30th of November. Other actions that people need to be aware of, and how will they get information on this?
Well, certainly it will be on the town's website. I'm fully expecting it'll be covered by the local press and the Patch and the Apple and so on. So it, as well as once the warrant is finalized, it has to be posted in each of the 6 precincts.
Very well, thank you. And I just want to compliment you, Mr. Carr, for saying what you said a moment ago, that really the issue of tonight, the business of tonight was to do what we just did. It was to schedule this special town meeting, not to argue the merits or the demerits, as it might be, of the article itself. There's going to be ample opportunity for that. So all proponents of the article that's been put forth will have ample opportunity to make their case and have their voice heard on that issue, and any opponents of the article will have the same opportunity to do so, both at the public hearing as well as at the special town meeting. That's what those meetings are scheduled for. So we certainly respect and acknowledge and welcome a nice hefty attendance at all our Board of Selectmen meetings, but I just want to express that very succinctly, that tonight was to schedule the town meeting, the business effectively being done as it relates specifically to that article. We do have a few other pieces of business that we, by virtue of the fact that we now have a special town meeting scheduled, we hoped to be able to add Board of Selectmen sponsored articles to the warrant. And Jeff, if I could just maybe turn it over to you a little bit to highlight this, please.
So the discussions that have been going on internally have been dealing with the recreational marijuana statute, which you recall was adopted by a ballot question last November. The initial action that the town meeting took last April was to seek a moratorium to give the town an opportunity to understand how the regulations were going to be developed on this provision of law. And so the town meeting voted to establish a moratorium that would run through June 30th of 2018. In the meantime, the state has moved forward with establishing this Cannabis Control Commission, which is the entity that is supposed to be coming up with regulations with regard to implementing the law. The commission was only recently appointed. I believe it was the end of September, and they are expected to establish their regulations by the middle of March of next year, which is a rough estimate. It could be sooner, it could be later. One of the concerns that we have is that there is not a lot of clarity in terms of how this is going to be implemented. And so one step that we recommend is that the town adopt a warrant article that would extend the moratorium from June 30th of 18 through 12/31/18. A number of communities have done this, again, exercising a measure of caution because we just don't have the specifics on how this law is going to be rolled out. So that would be one proposed article. We would have brought it forward, proposed bringing it forward for the annual town meeting. Certainly, if there's going to be a special town meeting, I think it's an opportune time to do that. One of the things that this does afford us is if the moratorium is authorized at the special town meeting, it's more than likely that the Attorney General would accept it. It's less clear once the Cannabis Control Commission establishes the regulations, which could be, like I say, in mid-March or April, but certainly before the annual town meeting. The other two articles that are being proposed, one is to ban recreational marijuana by a zoning article. The other is to take the same action via a inhabitant bylaw. Again, because of the lack of clarity in the statute, it's not clear whether the appropriate approach is to, if the intent is to seek to ban the use and sale of recreational marijuana, to do it via a zoning article or via an inhabitant bylaw. So the idea is by taking action on both, if they are successful, kind of belt and suspenders, so to speak, one or the other would achieve that purpose. The other piece of information to just make everyone aware of is that part of the statute allows for communities that voted against the recreational marijuana ballot question in the majority to take the action that we're proposing, whereas communities that voted in the majority in favor of the ballot question would have to go through another more rigorous process. So, what part of the premise here is that, again, because of the lack of clarity as to how this is going to be implemented and the impacts on the community, by banning it, at least initially, it'll give the town time to see what the regulations actually are and see how other communities that do wind up allowing for recreational marijuana use, the impacts to those communities, how they're dealing with it, and then certainly if there's a point in time in the future where the town decides they want to go forward with some number of facilities, then the town could take action in the future. So it's, in my estimation, an appropriate measure to exercise a reasonable level of caution, and that's where we are.
Thank you, Jeff. You mentioned something a couple of times, and I want to be real clear that I understand it, because I was of the mind that these articles were to prohibit the sale of recreational marijuana, but that there was no intent necessarily to prohibit someone using recreational marijuana in the privacy of their home. That was, help me understand the nuance to that, because there might be a difference of opinion on that.
Yeah, it is the sale and manufacture, I think is the exact term, of marijuana. So in the absence of taking any action, if the moratorium expires, then facilities can obtain licenses through the state to establish retail outlets to sell recreational marijuana. So this provision, if adopted as a bylaw or inhabitant bylaw or zoning bylaw, would not allow that to happen.
So this would prohibit the sale of
Yes.
recreational marijuana in Wilmington, but if someone were to leave Wilmington and go to, I don't know, Chelmsford, I'm not even sure they're going to have the ability to do that, but to another town and where it is legal, they could go purchase it legally in a neighboring community, bring it back to their house, and they would be completely within it would be lawful.
I think within certain quantities, yes. I'm less clear on the thresholds where what uses.
It would default back to what the state law is
Yes.
with regards to that. Okay, so we're not, we at the town level are not trying to have any impact on the state laws writing of usage in one's private home. It's really on the sale and distribution, or really on the sale of it recreationally in the town of Wilmington.
Yes, a sale manufacturer, we're basically would be saying that if this bylaw was adopted, that those types of activities, businesses that either sell, grow, manufacture, or test recreational marijuana products would not be permitted.
Okay. And that was my understanding of it. I just wanted to be clear, because you had said a couple of times the word use found your way into the description.
Right.
I wasn't sure you were choosing your word correctly, so thank you for clarifying. So, discussion, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
if I may,
please.
I just want to add that I think this is in line with what other communities, in my research, just in the surrounding communities, have done the same thing or in the process of. Just want to point out a few: Borica, Woburn, Reading, North Reading, Andover, North Andover, Burlington, Chelmsford, and I think Westford was the latest, are in the process. And there are some communities that are voting tomorrow. We're not one of them. I know a lot of people asked if we were voting tomorrow. We're not one of them, but a lot of municipalities, cities are voting tomorrow. So just to name a few comparables in our surrounding area, this is consistent with what they've already done.
Thank you, Greg, for that information.
One more thing, and it doesn't include medical marijuana, which we haven't mentioned, so just want to be clear on that.
Right. Okay, so, anything else, gentlemen, down this end? So I personally am of the mind to approve the inclusion of these 3 articles onto our special town meeting warrant. And I would either make a motion to that effect or accept a motion. You know, I'll tell you what, just because I'm always asking you guys to go do all the heavy lifting, let me do some. So I'll make a motion that we include 3 articles on the special town meeting warrant. One article to, I want to make sure I say this right. I guess prohibit it. To amend the Wilmington zoning bylaw to prohibit marijuana establishments in all zoning districts by amending Table 1 Principal Use Regulation to include 3.72 marijuana establishments as follows, and it goes in to describe that. That's Article number 1 that I would like to include. Article number 2 is to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Wilmington inhabitant bylaws by adding a new Section 55 to Chapter 5 entitled Prohibition of Marijuana Establishments as follows, and it goes into describing what we've already just discussed. And the third article I would like to include on the special town meeting warrant is to see if the town will vote to amend Section 3.9.4 of the Town of Wilmington zoning bylaws to extend the temporary moratorium on marijuana establishments by 6 months through the end of December 31st, 2018. And it goes on to say why we want to do that to everything that Jeff just said. So those 3 articles, there's more language there, but I would like to include those articles as written in our packets on the special town meeting warrant.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion made and seconded. Is there further discussion on this? All in favor, then? We have unanimity. Thank you very much on that. And again, same thing as the other article. There will be ample opportunity for residents to have their voice heard, pro or con, on those at the joint hearing of the Planning Board and Finance Committee, as well as at the special town meeting itself. Mr. McCoy, I want to acknowledge that I've certainly allowed you a fair amount of latitude early on, but I know you indicated you had more that you wanted to share, so it feels like now might be the time to come to you.
You don't have a problem with that? Because I was going to ask these folks to stay. Right now, what we just did was we called for a special town meeting. I've got and there's another article I wanted to present to the board if they were willing to accept it. And this would be a 3-step process. This article, let me get to there because I didn't think you were going to allow me to do it. I got to say, hey, you're all right, Mike, all right? Now, real quick, what I plan on doing is this. I really thought about it. You know, I stood outside Market Basket for a long time, about 28 hours, and I heard both sides, and some people came up to me and said, all right, what you're planning to do is to put a detox center in industrial. Yes. Can I put a full medical facility? I said, no. Right now, as the existing bylaws stand today, you can't pick up Leahy Clinic and put it on Belleville Street. You can't do it right now. The article that the board voted on, you still can't do that. So if there's any question of anything, so what I propose, and I wanted to pass it down to everybody, is that the board consider another article. And what the article does, pretty much, the definition that exists in the zoning bylaws, I am going to include, and I'll read it right here, and I'll pass it down, but if you don't do it, give it back, because I need you folks to sign it. And I'm telling you, this is going to be another article at the town meeting. It's going to benefit everybody, all sides. I'm trying to think outside the box, how we can make people happy. Because people opposed to it said, you can't do that. And I would love to see a full facility. By this article, that's what I'm going to do. So I'll explain real quick. Mr. Chairman, can I pass this down to you folks? And I'll take 2 minutes to explain it. Could I do that, please?
Yeah, please.
I just want to know, if you don't do it, I want it back. All right, so I'll give that to, here's the petition, because I want folks to stay around. Jeff, I'm sorry, I didn't think this was it. Mr. Yeah, you're all right, Mike. Tell you, 1, 2, 3, 4. Jeff, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. If you could pass those out, I want you to have one as well.
Mr. McCoy, I would like to just question, I'm glad to give you the opportunity to share this information with us, and I'm glad to listen. I would have maybe preferred if you had the opportunity or the time to do so, to perhaps have distributed this with a little bit more notice, to give us some time to chew on this over the weekend, or?
You know, I did, well, we set the, right now you set it, so you got 48 hours. All you need to do right now is just to get 100 signatures, because the town meeting's already been set, and the rule is, under 3910, that as long as the Board of Selectmen set the agenda of the town meeting, you don't need 200, you need 100 now. So if I could pass this down, and once again, Jeff, I want you to have one as well. It'd take 2 minutes to explain it, and if you decide not to do it, that's fine, and this is within the boundaries of me even talking about it. I want to make sure I keep one for myself. Did everybody get one? Oh, here you go, okay?
So, Mr. McCoy, just again, could I have, I guess it's a moot point now, at 8:05 on the night of the meeting, but could this have been something you could have put in our hands with a little bit more notice?
You know, you're probably absolutely right, but given the time constraints, right now, we only have 2 days. Obviously, this is moot. If you
No,
didn't
I'm
vote-
asking, could you have given this 3 days ago? Could we have gotten this in, could you have gotten this into Jeff's hands on Friday, so we could have got it over the weekend to
Not
look
really,
at?
not really. You want to know why the truth is? When I saw the packet, when I got it Friday night, I had a great idea, okay? And this is going to benefit everybody, all right? And I thought outside the box. I couldn't do it because I didn't get the packet. We don't get the packet delivered. We have Selectmen's meeting. We get the packet delivered by the Wilmington Police. Normally comes Friday night, and the chief's there. And if they're busy, we don't get it maybe on Saturday. And when I looked at it, it was just too late to talk to anybody, and I had this put together. So I passed everything down. All I'm saying to you right now is this. Right now, right now, and this is the same thing as that, but this is, I just changed 2 sentences in this article. And I believe everybody's gonna think it's a good article. The other one's a good article, but this does a little bit different. Right now, at the present zoning bylaws, that you can put a detox center, you know, a detox center facility in all the residential zones, we know that. Uncle Mickey's, where it's neighborhood business, near the Shawshene School, that can go there. And at the Pizza Mia site, its own general business, it goes there, but it butts all the residents. So what I did was, this article here, and I would love to give it to the planning board director, because then she'd definitely see what's going on. All I'm doing is this, at 3.46, the existing bylaw that sits today, a hospital, convalescent home, that's where they use sanitarium, is in 3.46, goes in all the zones with the exception of general industrial, light industrial, and highway industrial. So this new one, I take the present bylaws and I insert the word, I insert at the very end where it says convalescent home. Now, folks, I know you don't have it, but believe me. So right here, what we do is, now read it, amend 3.46 under classification, government, institutional, public services use, zoning bylaw, page 13, section 3.46, to insert at the end of the existing text of the original zoning bylaw, 3.46, hospital and nursing homes, before the period punctuation mark, the words include. Now, this one we took excluding. No, I'm putting now, changing it to this one, including any detox facility as defined in any use of any land, building, or structures for the purpose of providing detoxification and treatment of alcoholism, drug addiction, substance abuse service. So I'm inserting what the definition of detox in the present zoning bylaws. So now I go to page 10, and I'd love to give it to the planning board director when I'm done to see that you know what I'm talking about. All right, so now this is what they call principal use regulations. Right now, it's yes across the board. R10, R20, R60, neighborhood district, general business, right across the board with the exception of general industrial, light industrial, highway industrial. So now what I put was no across the board in all the residential, neighborhood business like Uncle Mickey's, and I'm saying special permit in highway district, special permit in general industrial, but I'm putting no in light industrial, because that's the old Expedex. There's a lot of people in that area. It's like, light industrial is like neighborhood business. Where Uncle Mickey is, that's called neighborhood business near the school, so it's lesser, so it's a little bit easy to put a business. And along down by Sweetheart Plastic, all those homes in those areas. So we didn't do that. So that's what I'm proposing to the board. Right now, I was asking the board, there's 3 ways of doing this. Number 1, if the board would be willing to accept this as an article for the upcoming special town meeting. What it does is, I was out there for a long time, and I talked to nurses that were really opposed to what? And they said, well, all you're gonna do is really just take a detox and put it there. It would be nice to have a full facility. By doing this, visualize, now we can take Leahy Clinic, Burlington, and put it right on Ballardville Street. We can put it, and I wish I had the scan, because I remember, I think it's yellow, highway district. It is, I'm not gonna use President Trump's word, it's huge. The highway district is huge. The general industrial district is huge. We're talking a lot of square feet, a lot of availability for this. Right now, Leahy Clinic can't go in an industrial zone or Winchester Hospital. And right now, the 3 nursing homes and the health center in Wilmington, they're grandfathered. So if they choose to put a full-blown nursing home or a full-blown hospital with a detox, they're grandfathered, so they can't be prohibited. All we're doing is putting it in a general industrial highway zone. You're putting everything under one roof. Day surgery, prenatal care, doctor visits, whatever. Whatever Leahy Clinic offers, now we can go with a full detox. And some of those people I talked to, what about this idea if we did something like that? A few people said, I would like that better. These are folks who didn't want to sign this petition. I believe we're breaking barriers with a lot of people in this community and trying to bring them together. Now, we're not going to make everybody happy. There might be 1 or 2, 3 homes in a highway zone. I'm just saying, that's what I offered to the board. I know you got the deadline in 2 days, and so I'm just hoping that the board would consider it. That's option 1. Option 2 is that if you don't accept it, then all I need to do is these folks, you're here, if you could, we'll probably get 60 signatures tonight. I'll be at Market Basket before the bread man and the milkman show up, and I'll get all this thing done, and I'll be at the town hall by noontime tomorrow. I think you people know me. And the other third option is but you did, if you never even called a special town meeting, then we would have to do it again. Go out, get 200 more signatures, do this. I just bring that to the board, and I would really love for the planning board to direct her to say, what I'm saying is 100% correct. And I would love for her to take a look at it. And I think we're helping everybody. Keep it in a general industrial, highway industrial, full medical service facility, all on one roof. Detox, woman's gonna have a baby, you gotta go get gastric bypass, you can do everything. That's what this does. And this will be a second article. And now for the next 30 days, when we go to the planning board public hearing, now people will be able to digest this and understand it. And I tend to think, my own opinion, this article is absolutely a winner. And anyone thinking that we're just discriminating against a detox, and I don't think we were, and I disagree, but this absolutely puts everything under one roof, folks. This is probably a win-win for the whole community, big time. Big time, huge. All right. So it's up to the board, and Valerie, through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd love for you to take a look at it, and everything I'm saying is
I don't want to
100%.
compel you, Valerie, to
No.
have to offer an opinion. You have now an exact amount of 5 minutes that you've reviewed the information. Do you have any thoughts you want to share at this point, or do you feel like, fair enough. Jeff, I offer you the same opportunity?
I mean, I've seen this for 2 minutes.
Yep.
So, you know, we don't typically do planning based upon a 2-minute review, so I don't have anything to.
And I appreciate that, but all I'm doing is changing 2 lines, that's it. Putting the definition of what a detox center is in the present bylaw that says nursing home, hospitals, convalescent home. and then change that one principal use, saying no across the board, all residential in the other businesses, and that's where it goes. And I'll say it again, folks, a detox center under present zoning bylaws can go in Uncle Mickey's area, neighborhood business. And what we did with the article that we voted tonight eliminates that. But this here, I think, is a win-win for everybody. Visualize, Leahy Clinic now can go on Belleville Street. It can't at the present bylaw.
Yeah, to be clear, Mr. McCoy, we didn't vote for an article tonight. We scheduled a special town meeting. The article will be voted for in the future.
No, I know that. I'm
well,
asking the board to accept an article
I understand,
at
no,
this
you
point.
stated that with the article we voted for tonight. I just wanted to be clear about the record. Yeah, Mr. Bendel.
I would just remind folks that if anybody out there or up at this table would like to submit an article for the December 12th meeting, you just got to get the signatures and bring it to Town Hall by the November 8th.
That is indeed the case. I would say that, Mr. McCoy, I feel like I get the spirit of where you're going here, and I think I understand what you're trying to achieve. And I think maybe you might be on the right track, but I can't wrap my brain around it. And because I can't wrap my brain around it at this juncture, with the limited amount of time that I've had to swallow it, I'm not prepared to support it. That's my saying. That's me saying that. I'm not speaking for my colleagues. I want to offer it up to other members here to speak their piece.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not prepared to act on it as well, but through the chair, town manager, to Ms. Gingrich, can I just ask a question in regards to Table 1? It has SP beside certain designations, like R10, R20. SP, I'm assuming means special permit. Is that correct? And those that have the word yes underneath it, that means that they're permitted to put something at that spot. And those that have the word no means by our bylaws they're not permitted to do that. Because I'm a little confused with Mr. McCoy's article, having just seen it, by the way, and just a minute ago. I understand 3.4.6, you're inserting the ability for the detox to be in certain areas, but then under Table 1, you're wanting to put no across the board to exclude everything. So one wants to include it, one wants to exclude it. So I guess I'm a little
No, I'm not trying to make it confusing.
confused because you have,
It's very
under
simple.
3.4.6, nursing homes and hospitals, according to your amended article, Table 1, you want all these special permits and all the words that say yes to now say
They
no.
don't say no. Right now, at the
They do
present
say
time,
no.
they see.
If you
right now,
read
at the
all the way
present time,
across-
At the present zoning bylaws that exist today, it says yes across the board and everything. Detox.
Not what I'm reading. Valerie, can you?
No.
It says no
This
to
is-
me.
No, what this
I
is.
mean, I think I know what the word
What
means.
this is right now, I said to you, I got a copy of the existing bylaw that stands today. Right here, if you take a look at it, it's going to say right now, yeah, it's gonna say right now. That's what I said. What I passed you was the new article for the special town meeting. This here is the existing bylaw of the definition of what hospital and nursing homes in Principle 1. So if you see the three highlights, that'll be more simple. See the three highlights, the 3.4. Now go to 3.46. And you see where the word I put the highlight, it says insert. Do you see that? I hand wrote that word insert. Do you see that at the end of convalescent home? Well, what I'm proposing is to continue that definition by saying at that punctuation mark that the words include any detox facility as defined as the use of any land, building, or structures for the purpose of providing detoxification and treatment of alcoholism, drug addiction, or substance abuse services. I'm adding it to the existing bylaw. And then what I did, if you let me finish, and then if you take a look at principal use, where it says hospital nursing homes, you're right, this is the existing bylaw. What I gave you on this, it just it flips it. It just flips it completely out of residential. Right now, you're right, Mr. Kyra, it says hospital nursing homes, special permit across the board, but no, general industrial, highway industrial, light industrial. What I did was flip it. Now, because it doesn't exist, that's why I had to show you the old copy. But now, with this new petition, it states that. It says no across the board to everything with the exception of highway and general industrial. And now you can put a full facility under one roof, detoxification, a full hospital. You can do that now, you know, and I know we're debating it, but Valerie, if you, Mr.
With all due respect, through the chair,
there's too much time.
there's contradiction here, and that's
no
not what it's written, because it
No, there's no
clearly states
contradiction.
here,
You're confusing this whole
Please let
issue.
Mr. Kyrus, we've given you all kinds of time here, so I'm going to ask that you give everyone
I
else the opportunity
understand,
to speak.
thank you, I understand what you're putting in after 3.4.6, and you're inserting hospitals and nursing homes, a detox facility, and so on and so forth, which you read. But then you're also amending that table, and you didn't put yes anywhere. Everywhere it says, under each of those districts and designations is the word no. So on one hand, you're saying, let's put it in there, then on the other hand, you're saying no to everything. So you're contradicting yourself, and I don't know that this is really that
You're
good.
trying to confuse it, it's not, it's
I'm not
simple.
confusing
Yes, you
anything.
are. No, you are.
I'm just
On
reading
page
what you
10
wrote.
On page 10, Valerie, to you, Mr. Chairman, this is, right now, the existing zoning bylaw out of the book that exists today. I even brought it with me, right here. That way you can see it for yourself. All right, I'm just trying to take all these forms out of here. All right? Just give me a minute here, that's all I'm asking here. Here's the Bible, folks. This is the Bible, the zoning bylaws. And you're right. It says, if you look at 3.46, hospital and nursing homes, it doesn't say yes, it says special permit for every identical zone, every zone, R10, R20, R60, over 55, neighborhood mix, neighborhood business, central business, and general business. It says special permit. All you gotta do is go to, tomorrow to the Board of Appeals and get a special permit, and it can exist today. And it says right here, if you look across, it says no, no, no. General industrial, highway, and light industrial. We're gonna flip it. All I'm gonna do is right now, if you see this one, it says no across R10, R20, R60, 055, neighborhood mix, neighborhood business, general business, central business. It says the word no, but it says special permit. It doesn't say yes, because you still gotta go to Board of Appeals for a special permit for general industrial and high. So in other words, once again, the 3 nursing homes and the health center, we're reclassifying under principal use where it can go in a certain zone. They're grandfathered. They can do whatever they want. But now, right now, if they wanted to build a hospital in a general business area right next to the old Pizza Mia, they can't do it. They can't put it anywhere with the exception, now, it's a new principal use regulation. I'm correct on this, and I understand you said you only had it for a couple of minutes, but I would love, Mr. Chairman, through you, have the planning board director take a look at it and say, yeah, McCoy is right. And if I'm wrong, which I know I'm not.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think that this was presented this evening to put the planning director on the spot this evening to make a case for or against. I don't think that's
I
appropriate.
completely concur. I will say this, this is the kind of discussion that I think would be healthy to wrestle with and communicate with and work collaboratively with the town management and Valerie to construct, maybe there's a way to construct some type of an article that has a good chance of getting approval by the Attorney General that we could put forth at the regular town meeting. And that was always my hope, that we could do that. We're now at a position where we're going to have a special town meeting to discuss the articles we've talked about this evening. But I'm personally, Mr. McCoy, I guess you can make your motion if you care to, so that we can have it on the record, and then we can dispense with that, I guess, at least from a business perspective tonight.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen put on the special town meeting that's scheduled, I believe we said December 12th, what I'm submitting to the board right here now and what I've explained. I'd like to make that in form of a motion.
Okay, I'll accept that as a made motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, I have a second for discussion. You are in discussion now.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, this is a better article than the other article that he's already submitted, in my opinion. Going by the bylaws and what I know of the bylaws, I think this would have the muster to get past the Attorney General. That's all I'll really say about it. This, he's trying to change the bylaw 3.4.6 and then amend the table principal use regulations. In my opinion, based on my experience being on the Board of Appeals for as long as I was, this is a better petition than the one that was submitted earlier today. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Mr. Loud.
Thank you.
Anything else from you gentlemen?
If I can, I just think the motion is out of order. I don't know why you need our approval. Get the signatures and it can be on the ballot.
He's asking for a selectman-sponsored article.
That's what he's asking for.
And I'm prepared to vote no. I just got this, and I would need more clarification. I tend to agree with Mr. Kyra. I understand the spirit of your motion, Mr. McCoy, but just reading this, I'm having a difficult time lining that up with what you're describing here verbally to us. So I would like the opportunity to look at this a little bit further. I just got this, and like I said, I wish we would have got it earlier. But the way I see this, you talked about flipping it. I flipped it. Although I see the word no 9 times, I do not see the word yes anywhere. So how's it flipped? So I'm just not prepared to vote for this tonight. But if you want to get the signatures, it'll be on the ballot if you get them certified by November 8th.
All right, I'll just say this, folks, don't go nowhere. Stay here, and I'll be at Market Basket tomorrow before the bread and the milkman come. Eddie Lauder, give him credit. He just signed that petition right now as we speak, and I'm telling you.
Well, Mr. McCoy, we have a motion
All right,
and a
motion,
second right
right,
now, and
almost-
you're already getting
I hear you.
signatures, so if you don't mind, we'll continue the Robert's rules here. So a motion's made and seconded. Are we done with discussion on that? I think we are. All in favor of Mr. McCoy's motion? I have 2, all opposed. I have 3. It doesn't pass, so again, that's Market Basket at 7:01.
More like 6:30, man.
6:30.
That's all right. I don't care.
So, thank you. Thank you all for enduring that. I guess, Mr. McCoy, here, I'll pass that down to you. We are under public comments, and before we jump into public comments, let me just restate what I started talking about when we began tonight, which is we came here tonight to establish or to determine whether or not we would establish dates for a special town meeting, and we have done that. You witnessed it. And so tonight is not an opportunity, it should not be an opportunity to deliberate over or argue the merits or demerits of the articles that we've discussed this evening. So I invite anyone to have their voice heard. I hope that we can keep it positive. Yes, sir, Mr. West. Please do. Excuse me.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Frank West, 2 Birchwood Road in Wilmington. I just have a question, probably through the chairman to the town manager, on the use of the middle school. I'm just wondering, how many people does that sit? How many parking spots are there? And I know, and the third thing is that will there be availability if, I know like in past town meetings, they've had a couple of them where they've had to utilize classrooms for overfill. I was wondering if you've considered that.
That is something that we would consider. It's not been an issue that I've looked at in great detail, and offhand, I don't know specifically the number of seats in the auditorium or the number of parking spaces. That would be something I'd have to confirm.
Again, just want to make sure if there's like 300 seats in the auditorium, which I'm just guessing, and you've got 1,000 people or 600 people that signed a petition, I'm just thinking that you're probably going to look at an overflow of people to, if not even to say anything, just to vote. And the other question that I have is that, are there any other articles that you guys are aware of that will appear at the special town meeting? Has there anybody, either through the Board of Selectmen, through town council, or has anybody through the town clerk's office taken out a petition for any other articles?
I'm not personally aware of any. There's no more Board of Selectmen sponsored articles, but I don't know, Jeff, are you aware of any other?
I am not, but that's not to say that certainly tomorrow or Wednesday there could be other articles.
Just curious, because I didn't know if there was going to, if all of a sudden would be, that would be presented at town meeting another 2, 3, 4 articles. Thank you.
It is possible. Obviously, that's why we opened the warrant, and it has a few days before it closes, so folks may be aware of that. Thanks. Thank you. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe, next, I'm sorry.
Joe Burns, 9 Pinewood Road. I was just wondering if you people could reconsider from a weeknight to a Saturday. Just because it looks like it's going to be a long meeting, judging from the amount of people, and I'm thinking maybe the Saturday before the 12th, the 9th, might be a better date.
I'm not particularly jazzed about the idea. Personally speaking, I'm hoping that it isn't all that long of a meeting. Certainly, I think there's passions about the issue, but it's really a singular issue. And we have regular town meetings that have
We have
45
four warrants on there
articles.
now with the potential of getting a fifth one.
Indeed,
It's
indeed.
gonna run, I mean, we're gonna be there till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Or will we? Will we get thrown out and come back the next night? Saturday, if we had all day long, it would seem like it would fit in better.
I don't know, do you have thoughts on that, Jeff?
It's hard to say. I mean, given the time of the year, are people going to want to come out on a Saturday when there's all kinds of other things going on in the lead up to the holidays? You know, I think 5 articles or 4 or 5 articles, it's certainly achievable within one evening. But, you know, it's hard to say how long it'll take.
I personally am of the mind where I think there's been so much dialogue and discussion about this through our open meetings as well as electronically. I feel like a lot of the observations have been made. I'm not particularly inclined to consider rescheduling. I feel like we should be able to get through the meat of the discussions and get votes taken on that evening. But I'm speaking for me, not for others. Yeah.
I had the same concerns as well.
Yeah, I'm
I
just-
talked to the town manager, and he seems to think that we can move it along
I'm just thinking,
at a good
if I read
pace.
the way the rules go, everyone gets 3 minutes to speak.
I also think we ought to wait to see, you know, what comes in.
Okay.
You know, if we
yeah.
get overwhelmed with articles, I'm sure that
I'm
there's
just
gonna have to
thinking
be an
that if we
adjustment.
have 1,200 people there and everybody wants their 3 minutes to speak, it's gonna go a while.
I'm sorry, do we have a limit? The town moderator is going to run that, so I don't want to speak
Okay.
too much out of school. It's not my purview at that particular meeting. You know, do we have flexibility on the schedule date for the town meeting where we've established it this evening? Can we, hypothetically, could we reevaluate and reschedule it on Monday night if we have a number of new articles that come before us between now and then?
I think the meeting has to be determined tonight because there's, as you see from the schedule, a whole series of events that need to take place here. The intent based upon this schedule is that the Board of Selectmen would be signing the warrant on the 13th, which is your next meeting. If you wait until the 13th to decide upon the date and time, then the schedule is pushed back.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Kevin.
think we just stay the course, keep it on the 12th. If for some reason it overruns, you're gonna have to have it the next night. That happens in towns.
Fair enough.
A lot of
Yeah, all the
towns
time.
have the 2-night.
Thought I'd ask.
Do we have a mechanism for that in place? We didn't really talk
We
about that
will,
here. If we don't, if the town moderator says at midnight on the 12th, we're gonna cease our discussion and we'll pick up tomorrow night, do we need to make that an official part of our
No, I think
discussion
that would be a
tonight?
determination that evening. What we will need to do internally is just confirm the availability of the middle school auditorium for the following night, or, you know, Wednesday or Thursday.
Thank you.
Which we'll
Yes,
do.
I'll just say something. I do like the idea of a Saturday. I really do like that idea, but I'm gonna say something relative to articles. No matter what happens, over the next 30 days, you're gonna have a hearing. So people are gonna see these articles. If there's an article, to save some time, you can always at the town meeting, I understand how it works, you write in writing and you withdraw without prejudice. So if there's a specific article that you think is better than the other article, you can withdraw without prejudice, give it to the town moderator, they'll take a vote. And that's it, it's done. And if there's another article that somebody likes, then that gets pulled out of the rabbit's hat. So not necessarily you're gonna have 2 articles that particular night. That could just limit to 1.
So unless someone wants to accept his recommendation to change the date,
I'd make a motion that we put it on a Saturday. We could either do it on the 9th or we could do it on the 16th at 10 o'clock. There's 2 Saturdays that you can still do this within the time frame of December 21st.
16th might be past in 45 days.
All right, so
I haven't counted.
We had
Well, so
45
then
days to call a special town
Yeah.
meeting, not have a special town
you can
meeting.
have it any
So
time.
that was we were all misinformed earlier. We have 45 days from today, from November 1st, to call a special town meeting.
Yeah, within 45.
Within 45 days to call a special town meeting, not have a special town meeting.
Well,
So December 9th, I will not be here. I will be traveling.
Okay.
I would like to be part of the
Jeff,
special
please
town
chime
meeting.
in.
With all due respect to the point about the comment that it should be November 1st, based upon other conversations that have been had, I believe that town clerk had conversations with elections, and when she advised that town council had offered an opinion on the schedule, and I don't know specifically who she spoke with, but the individual at elections deferred to town council's opinion. So typically, state agencies, they will defer to legal counsel. But at any rate, whether the date is, the start of this should have been November 1st or should have been tonight, you know, where if the 45 days is either up on the 21st or the 16th, I guess, is are the two dates.
So I'm sorry, Mr. McCoy, did you have a motion you were making? Forgive me for the...
I'd make a motion that, well, obviously, I don't have an issue having it on the 9th on a Saturday at 10 o'clock. I mean, we've historically, I know this is special.
You're not going to be there, right?
Oh, yeah, you said you're not going to be there. All right, fine.
It is
All
what
right,
it is.
but it is what it is, I guess. But I don't think it's going to go to
Go with the
midnight.
weeknight.
So,
It's not going to go to midnight.
do you have a motion or no?
I don't, well, Mr. Lau can't make it, so I'll just say, it's not going to pass.
Thank you,
We
gentlemen.
don't have a motion.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm sorry, there was, Mr. Rivera, did you have something? Yes.
I'm just trying to understand, a little disappointed that you guys didn't support the second article. I'm just trying to understand your reasoning, why you're saying you didn't have enough time to look at it, correct?
That's
I remember that,
me largely.
yeah, I remember that meeting back in September when you guys first were handed that packet with the detox center. You didn't have enough time to look at it, you just got it, you weren't sure, you're just reading it, yet you guys made a decision on that point.
Well,
I'm just
John,
trying to figure out,
with all
like, you
due
know,
respect, I didn't make a decision. I made it.
well, you guys, you had your opinions and you kind of favored one way or another. Everybody kind of knew 3 this way, 2 that way. I mean, it was pretty
Well, you had an opinion too,
pretty
didn't you?
transparent. But you didn't have a lot of time to look at the paperwork.
This is where my vote actually matters. I didn't have a vote that night.
No.
I
But
have an
the
opinion.
but the
People were
reasons,
asking
but the
my
reasons were the same. You guys, 3 gentlemen said, we didn't have enough time to look at this stuff, we didn't have this, but you still voted this way, you know?
I appreciate your opinion.
So I just want to understand the difference, that's all.
I'm sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead,
I just
please.
want, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we didn't take a vote that night. You asked my opinion, I gave it.
Not a vote, but you gave an opinion, you had to, we all understood who was on the left and who was on the right. I mean, let's be honest. And your reasons are the same as this one. It's kind of ironic, that's all. Thank you.
If I could just respond to that a little bit further, I did say I just got this, but I also mentioned a moment ago that what Mr. McCoy is articulating doesn't line up to me with what's written in this proposed, so that's why I
I think you
wanted more
also said, though, you
clarification.
didn't have enough time, you just got this, you'd like more time to look at it.
You're right, I take this
I
very
would think you
seriously.
would have done that 2 months ago on the other topic also, that's all. Take a little time, take a look at it, you know, represent us, you know, understand the material before giving an opinion. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
In
please.
all fairness to my colleagues, we did just get this tonight. And at our September 25th meeting, we got our packet 3 or 4 days before that. I did a lot of research, and that's where I formed my opinions. These guys got this tonight. Some of them don't understand it like I do, because I was on the Board of Appeals for a long time. So I don't think that's fair, your statement. I don't think it was fair to them.
Well, if I'm going to put,
That's what you guys all stated that night. We just got this material, we didn't have time to read it, we didn't have time to really look into it.
I find it completely consistent to be able to say, after a presentation, that I deem it worthwhile for the planning process to be put in place. So if a proposer wants to pull permits and pull applications and go through the regulatory process and apply for a special permit, I don't have a vote on that. So I felt very comfortable in saying, you know what, let the planning process work, let the Zoning Board of Appeals review the application on its merits, and they can determine whether or not the special permit is applicable. I didn't have an objection then, nor do I have one tonight, in allowing that process to flow naturally and normally and by the books. Tonight, where I have a vote that matters, where we were asked to support a Board of Selectmen sponsored article that goes on the special town meeting, I'm not going to take a vote on something, an actual vote that has meat. I'm not going to do that with 5 minutes of opportunity to review the information. If I'm going to support a selectman-sponsored article for any town meeting, whether it's a regular or a special, I want professional opinion of our planning director. I want professional opinions from the planning board. I want their endorsement. I want Jeff Hull to look at it. I want probably town council to review it to make sure that it's going to hold water from a legal perspective. That's how the process works. I don't make knee-jerk decisions on votes that actually matter. So I appreciate that people don't think that I'm representing them. I think that me following that process is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in representing 23,000 people in this community, not 600. But that's my opinion. Anybody else have a thought on this? Yes. Yeah, please.
Good evening. Carl Sagal, 7 Lawrence Court. I'd like to speak in support of doing this on a Saturday as well. I don't know if everyone is going to be available on the 16th. 16th seems to comply with both calendars. I would like you to consider it on the 16th. I think that the townspeople are used to having town meetings on Saturdays. I think you're going to be much more likely to be able to hear a better representation from the town if it was held on the 16th. I believe that if tonight is any example of what's going to happen, your agenda tonight was to set a date, and it's been a couple hours, and we haven't really all come to that same conclusion. You set a date, but I don't think the date was in the best interest of the town. I think a Saturday would be much better. And if the 9th is not available, then I think the 16th is better, and I also think the town should have this meeting in the high school, the largest facility available, if it's possible.
Thank you, Mr. Sagal. Go ahead, Mr. Hull.
Mr. Chairman, the challenge with the 9th is that the schedule, there are certain parameters, obviously, that we need to follow in terms of notice. So one of them being that the public hearing, a Finance Committee Planning Board public hearing must occur at least 10 days before the special town meeting. So the date that was scheduled here, lined up, was 11/30, which is a Thursday. That means if the meeting is going to be the 9th, that date has to be backed up. I know town council is not available on the 29th. There's also notice requirements in the town crier that need to, so there's a trickle-down effect. It isn't just changing one date and then you're done.
Thank you. Mr. Sagal?
Could I ask for a clarification on that? When you say that something has to be done 7 days before, does that mean exactly 7 days or at least 7 days before?
Hearing must occur at least 10 days before a special town meeting.
So if you were to push the town meeting back from the 12th to the 16th, you're adding an extra 4 days. You could leave the rest of the schedule intact.
If it was to go the other way, that's correct. The schedule
I suggested
outlined.
the 16th, not the 9th, sir.
I think you were suggesting both, but, okay.
So it seems like if we were to entertain the idea of moving it to a Saturday, the only one we could possibly consider is the 16th from a scheduling perspective, unless I heard you incorrectly.
Mr. Chairman, do we really want a meeting 8 days before a major holiday?
I don't.
Neither do I.
But
Every other special town meeting that I've ever been to has been during the week, including the ice rink, which was in the high school, when we voted on that, and we needed classrooms and classrooms and more classrooms. That was during the week.
Isn't that middle school, Ed?
The middle school. So I think it's appropriate that's the way it was scheduled and outlined by the town manager. We should just move forward and go on, in my opinion.
Let's just say, Mr. Chairman, no, obviously that's going to be the will of the board. I don't have an issue with the 16th, even though it's coming up, 9 days from Christmas? If everybody knows it's going to be the 16th at 10 o'clock, and I'm telling you, this town meeting is going to be no more than an hour.
Why not have it on
12th.
People are gonna get, you gotta get their kids, and nights are tough. Well, whatever, hey, we got it.
Let me-
Amen.
Suggest one other option, I suppose, and that would be if instead of scheduling the start of the meeting at 7 o'clock, it could be scheduled at 6. I know 5 is actually pushing it, I'm guessing, because folks are coming home from work, but that would buy an additional hour of time if the concern is that the amount of time is not sufficient on starting at 7.
I'm receptive to that. MJ, just a moment, please. Does that offend anybody's sensibilities? Is 6 o'clock too early? Does that give enough people time to get home and get back out? If we're going to keep it the weekday, I would support that idea. Ms. Burns, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Shampoo. I too would be very supportive of a Saturday, December 16th at 10, but for the reason that a lot of our residents also work from Boston. I know I wouldn't be able to make a 6 o'clock meeting. I think it is important, if we're putting this much effort into holding a special town meeting, that we could have the residents of Wilmington be able to participate. Holding it on the 12th when there is a high school performance would compromise that. People who may want to attend the special town meeting would not come out because they've got children performing and wouldn't want to take that away from them. Holding it on the 16th at 10:30 in the morning, which is Saturday morning, shouldn't compromise any events or special plans and parties with the upcoming holidays. And granted, I'm in the throes of it as well, but I think this is just as important topic to have the whole of Wilmington be able to participate without the least amount of conflict. And I think holding it on a weekday at 6 or even 7, especially on a night when there's a known performance happening in town with our students, I think just prohibits that. And I think this topic is a vital piece that I think anybody who is wanting to be there should be afforded the opportunity to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Burns. I might suggest, I don't know, Jeff, it doesn't really matter, but just a thought is that there was probably a cost difference. I imagine there's some overtimes Saturday, but negligible if hopefully we can get through the agenda relatively quickly.
Yeah, Saturday is just a time and a half, but it's not any different than Tuesday.
Than anything, very well. So, listen, I don't want to hold a hard line just to be stubborn here. I mean, if there's...
All right, I make a motion, we're gonna have to start certain votes. I'd make a motion that we call the special town meeting on December 16th at 10:30. Where are we talking, at the Wilmington High School gymnasium or the auditorium? You sure you don't think that we might need the gymnasium? No? All right. Maybe we can talk to Bob Kraft and maybe they can postpone the game and go to Gillette. But anyway, I make a motion that we have it in the high school auditorium, if we could do that.
Again, I just, with all due respect, I have not checked that date, so the assumption is that it's available. I guess the question is, if the high school gym is available on Saturday the 16th, shouldn't be an issue. If it is not available, and again, I don't know because I didn't ask about that date, then is the board prepared to suggest that whatever else is going on there be moved?
Can we do 2 dates?
Hypothetically, if we were to establish the 16th as the date, and with the target location being the high school auditorium, but it turns out that it's not available, could we?
Let me second the motion for discussion purposes with the idea that we go on the 16th at 10:30 based on availability. And if it's not available, then we go back to the 12th, or what we initially had. I mean, what else can you do at this point in time? So let's try for the 16th. If it's not available, then we'll go back to the original date.
We've got a number of facilities. We have the high school auditorium, the high school gymnasium, and the middle school auditorium.
We could go for one of the 3 on that 16th. There's 3 options. I agree.
So it seems like, and recognizing that we don't know what we're up
I
against.
understand that, but I'm just recognizing what Ms. Burns said, that we want to maximize the amount of residents to the event that we're having. So if we're having events on that 16th, we're gonna be in the same situation as we are on the 12th, even if we pick a different venue. So if the high school is being used for an event for the kids, for the students, and then we move to the middle school, well, then we're gonna lose those residents from going to the middle school. So either way, someone's going to be missing because of an event. All I'm saying is that if there's nothing on the 16th, let's do it on the 16th. But if it's not available, then we should stick with the 12th. But we have to do something, we just can't keep talking about it.
I appreciate the effort in looking into it, I would appreciate that. Gentlemen, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, I think were you making a motion? I can't remember where we were.
Made a motion, I seconded it.
Okay, so we have a motion for the 16th, we have a second. We're going to be able to accommodate that if this passes? We should be able to shuffle the deck a little bit in terms of the schedule?
Chairman,
just-
do we have to change our motion from earlier tonight when we changed it, to add it on the 12th, or just an additional, what are we voting on? I've heard a
So first
couple
of all, I
things
guess I'd like to get clarification that the plan at this point or proposal is December 16th at the high school auditorium. Is that what is on the floor?
Yes. That's what I heard, yes.
And in the absence of that being available, what is the plan B, to go back to the 12-12 at the middle school?
Are we able to use the basketball court, the gymnasium at the high school? What we used to do, the old high school, or do we not, is that floor not?
Well, certainly would.
Would we use the auditorium at the high school?
We would, he's saying if it's not available.
Oh, well, if it's not available, then there's an event going on there, and we run into the same situation as we're doing on the 12th. So, yeah, I don't think you can have two large events. Well, you could have two large events, but I think there might be some confusion going on.
So hypothetically, the auditorium's not available on the 16th. Do you think that it should move over to the middle school, or should go back to the 12th?
If there's nothing at the middle school, I think it should go over to the middle school
I agree with that.
On the 16th.
on the 16th.
Yeah.
Mr. Sagal?
Excuse me, gentlemen, as a point of interest, I looked at the Wilmington school website and the calendar for December, and there is something scheduled for the 17th, there's something scheduled for the 15th, there's nothing on the Wilmington school calendar for the 16th.
Yeah, I think the only thing that, and I'm just remembering it now, I think the only thing that's scheduled for the 16th, and I could be wrong, but I believe it's the invitational wrestling tournament that the Sons of Italy hosts at the Shriners Auditorium. So you're going to be losing parents for that. So that, I believe, is the 16th at the Shriners. And that's an all-day event, so, but.
Are you promoting your event, Kevin?
I'm not promoting my event, no. It's just Sons of Italy's event. But that's the only other that I can think of, but.
So, I'm sorry, Jeff. So to Ed's point, do we need to take a vote to rescind the previous vote on the schedule and vote in a new schedule to include the 16th of December?
I would suggest, if the inclination is to go with the 16th, that the motion essentially be to amend the previous motion and change the date from 12-12 at the middle school to 12-16 at the designated time, whether it was 10 or 10:30 at the high school auditorium, and if for whatever reason that is not available, at the middle school auditorium.
You said that so articulately. I would accept someone making that as the motion.
So just to clear, is it 10 or 10:30 that we're talking about?
Yes.
10:30.
10:30.
I'll make that in a motion.
So I have a second out there. So Mike, you're gonna rescind your first motion, so.
Revise it.
Sure.
You have to
And
do
I'll
that.
rescind my second.
Okay.
So again, just for the sake of our recording person here, let me suggest again what I believe to be the intent, which is that the board would rescind its original vote to schedule the meeting for 12-12, and instead to schedule the special town meeting for 12-16, starting at 10:30 at the Wilmington High School auditorium. And in the event that there's something that is not on the calendar that is in fact scheduled for that date and location, that the meeting be held at the middle school auditorium on that same date and time.
I agree with that. Everyone else agree with what he just said? And that's the motion that has been made and seconded.
And if nothing's available, right,
Go back to the 12th.
you go back to the 12th, right? You want to make sure of that?
As a stopgap?
I don't know.
Belt-in suspenders? Would you add that to your motion, Mr. McCoy?
Why not? I think we're gonna do
I've
it
lost
for-
track of where we are on the motions, I'm sorry. I feel like we had Mr. McCoy making the original motion, but, I'm sorry,
16th.
with the 16th and with the 12th as a fallback if all other opportunities
choice,
fail.
right.
And I think you made that motion, I believe, who seconded it?
I'll second.
Okay, we have that as a second. I think we've had ample discussion, is there more to have?
Just one thing, it's gonna be either at the high school on the 16th or the middle school, and if there are two not available, then it's gonna be on the 12th, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we have 2 bites of the apple on Saturday.
Very well. So we're gonna have your meeting, we're just trying to find it. All in favor of that plan? It is unanimous. Again, thank you for your patience, and I'm sorry, I know we're putting you to the test. We are still, believe it or not, in public comments. Is there more? I'm sorry.
Chair, if I may, just to be clear for folks, does this change when they can get an article in? If somebody wants to get an article in?
Yeah.
No, I would recommend that the rest of the schedule hold fast, that the last date to submit an article still remain Wednesday, the 8th at the close of business.
The only adjustment we made was the actual date of the meeting itself.
Yes.
Okay. Very well. Thank you all. New business or items not reasonably anticipated by me 48 hours in advance of the meeting.
Can I go first, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
All right,
McCoy.
thank you.
Thought you were-
I just want to say, we're going to be about another 5-6 minutes. Please, people, don't go anywhere. I don't want to stroke out tomorrow. Please, thanks.
So I only have one piece of new business, I guess, that I wanted to read into the record is, I had the great pleasure of attending with Jeff Hall and Dee Casey, our Assistant Town Manager, an event that took place in Danvers, and it's an organization called Care Dimensions, and they provide, once a year, they do a We Honor Veterans awards ceremony, and our own Director of Veterans Affairs here in Wilmington, Lou Samaglia, was an honoree at that program, most assuredly very deserving of the honor, and we are certainly very fortunate to have him as our #1 guy serving our veteran population. So I wanted to give kudos and congratulations to Mr. Samaglia and thank him for the good work that he does. Mr. Bendel.
Thank you. Just have 2 things. Briefly, I would hope that residents will come out and we honor our veterans on Saturday. Mr. Samaglia, congratulate him as well. Always puts on a fantastic ceremony to honor Wilmington's finest. So that's Saturday morning. I hope on the town common, hope folks will come out. And secondly, I want to give a shout out and thank you to all the hard work that our DPW and police and fire did last week after the storm. They worked really hard, long hours, so a lot of people have been mentioning how much they appreciate their efforts, so I want to publicly thank them.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carra?
I would agree with Mr. Bendel, and I also had the privilege of attending the Brady Foundation event this past Saturday. It was a wonderful event which puts the focus on suicide prevention and opioid addiction. And they put on a tremendous show. I wish more were able to attend. And I hope to see everybody out on Veterans Day at the town common.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. Mr. McCoy?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Blount?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was also at the Brady Foundation. That was an excellent event. They have another fundraiser coming up right around Thanksgiving, and I will be supporting that also. Also, we called a special Selectmen meeting tonight, so I have a couple special shout-outs to some veterans that are near and dear to my personal heart. One is my father-in-law, Richard Cox. He passed away a few years ago, but he served in the Army. My brother-in-law, Richard D. Cox Jr., was in the Coast Guard for many, many years. But Billy and Patrick McGarry are two, Patrick's my godson, most recent Marines that were both deployed to Afghanistan. They mean a lot to me and my family, and I thank them all for their service and any veteran. I'm a big veterans guy. I went to Frank West's event and his troops event for signing cards Saturday, and I don't know who thought of that, Frank, but it was a great idea, and I hope you continue that. I had a lot of fun and learned a lot that day for the short time that I was there. Also, last thing, last meeting, Mr. Lusamegler asked us to put green lights on the common. I'm also going to ask everyone out there in the audience and/or on TV land here at WCTV to put a green light on their house. One light. Shows the veterans that we care about them. We're thinking about them. And when I picked mine up the other day, there was a lot available over at the True Value store on the plaza. So that's all I really had to say. Thank you.
Mr. Laus.
Thank you.
Mr. Hall, could you review important dates, please?
We have curbside collection of yard waste through November 25th. Brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., November 6th, today through the 9th. Town offices will be closed on the 10th in honor of Veterans Day. Drop-off, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., both on the 10th and the 11th. As noted earlier, Veterans Day ceremonies on Saturday, the 11th at 11 a.m. at the Common. Next Selectmen's meeting is November 13th. The November 15th is another brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. November 18th, brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. November 18th is a Shawsheen Tech Craft Fair, 100 Cook Street, Billerica, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. November 22nd is another brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. November 23rd is the Thanksgiving. Town offices closed. Town offices will also be closed on November 24th. Brush drop-off, Old Main Street, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 25th. On the 27th is another Board of Selectmen's meeting, Town Hall, Room 9, 7 o'clock. Also that evening, there will be discussion about the local property tax policy with reference to classification for fiscal 2018. And then the meeting, December 2nd is Christmas tree lighting at the Town Common, 4 p.m. December 3rd, breakfast with Santa, Knights of Columbus Hall, 8:30 a.m. To 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. to noon. There's 2 seatings, and I believe that's being sponsored by the Sons of Italy. And then also the Festival of Trees, Villanova Hall, December 3rd and 4th. Holiday Social on the 3rd, sponsored by the Historical. This is at the Harnden Tavern, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And then December 7th is Santa's Workshop, Town Hall, Room 9, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Additionally worth mentioning is November 30th is the joint hearing of the Finance and Planning Board in preparation for what has also just been scheduled tonight, the 16th of December, our special town meeting. Unless there's anything else, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you all and good evening.